Hi, I'm Jenny again, and here I am for my second PBB minute, or 5, maybe 10. I decided today what I would do is talk about the PBB disaster at 50. The reason being was a little over a year ago, almost more like a year and a half, we had a conference in Elma where a lot of people came together. It was huge. I mean, it was a great turnout. And we learned a lot. I learned a lot from that. Met a lot of people, listened to a lot of speakers, heard a lot of things that I had not known that had went on maybe. And it was really good information. So out of that conference came a book called the PBB, I always have trouble with that, Disaster at 50. This book is Reflections, Critical Lessons, and a Path Forward, edited by Brittany B. Freeman and Benjamin Peterson. Thank you guys for taking on what you have. So it collects documents, accounts, and images inspired by the 50th anniversary of PBB disaster in St. Louis, Michigan. Yep, right here in St. Louis. Right there in St. Louis in Michigan. The volume is edited by Brittany B. Freeman and Benjamin L. Peterson, and contributors include Norman B. Keon, Margaret Hoyt, Terry Schaefer Pelfountain. Some of us have had a few name changes. Carol Norman, Thomas H. Corbett, Edward Lorenz, Adam Ellsworth, Kathleen Gregonis, Jane Ann Crowley, Jennifer Knowles, Joy Vosberg, Deborah Shore, Cheryl Dixon, and the United PBB Registry Team, Emory University. So I did an interview for the book. Kathleen Gregonis did the interview with me. We did question and answer basically, and I told my story from what I know of what happened to our family at the farm during the time of that. My memories throughout that, which were quite shocking and startling for a small child. And then they, put this in this book. They released the book last year in April in Elma. We had a little get-together thing for that. And so I took my interview and I condensed it actually into a story, so it kind of flowed better when I read it there. And I have to look that up and find that story, and I'll read it to you rather than read my part. It's basically a question and answer. But I would like to give you a little bit of information out of this book. I want to read some of the stories and interviews that we have in this book, because it really explains a lot of what happened and how people have reacted and felt and things like that. I'll read a couple out of it. I will stop the video. I will start another one so it isn't too lengthy for you, because I don't want to bore anybody completely to death all at once. But also it's so interesting because, this happened and people don't know about it. I am so amazed. I call myself the shopping, grocery store shopping lane lady or whatever. I'll be sitting in a doctor's office waiting room or in the checkout line at the store, and I'll be like, hey, you ever heard of PBB? And they'll be like, what? What is that? Or there's some people occasionally who'll be like, oh yes, I remember that, those poor people. And I'm like, yes, I'm one of those poor people. I was young. I have so many health issues. I have what we call silent health issues. You can't see them. And not everybody in my family was affected like that, but I was young and I drank a lot of milk from our dairy cattle. I have a lot of gastrointestinal issues, top to bottom inside there, like colitis and GERD and hiatal hernias and eosinophilic esophagitis. I have swallowing issues. I have asthma. I have osteoarthritis, which they're finding rheumatoid arthritis associated with it. The gastro issues can be associated with it. Of course, cancers throughout the gastro issues. I don't have cancer, knock on wood. I have what they label as fibromyalgia, but they've never ever completely were convinced that that's what it is. But a lot of things that I get tested for come back either borderline or, we don't really know. So I have neuropathy, restless leg syndrome. I have awful migraines. I get every 83 days I get 32 Botox shots in my head to help control those. I'm on a few medications. I try not to take as many as I can, but I'm allergic to aspirins and NSAIDs, so I can't take anything but really Tylenol for pain. My arthritis is so bad it breaks the bones in my body. It's broken my back, my thumbs. I've had surgery on those, on my neck. I have disc degeneration disease, so I've had disc replaced. My back is completely fused on the lower part. Oh, I have a whole host of things. I have what's called alpha 1 something syndrome that affects my lungs. So yeah, it's really painful at times for the different symptoms that I have. But I don't let it get down, just like anything else in my life. When it knocks me down, I get right back up and I keep going. And one of the things I want to do is just make sure people know about this and you know, you were affected more than what you think. If you were in Michigan at that time and you ate food out of the grocery stores, meat, dairy products, things like that, eggs, you were affected. You just didn't know it. And this stuff is so toxic. What it did is this PBB infiltrated our bodies, and it's not just through food. You know, it's the dust in the land where the feed was, or where some of the cattle like ours were buried right on our property. A lot of them were slaughtered and taken to huge pits in the state, and so people didn't know about it. The silos weren't cleaned out, so anything that was put in those silos afterwards were still contaminated with PBB. It is a killer. It's a silent killer, if you ask me. And it's not fun. It stays in the fat and our tissues of our body. 50-some years later, I'm at a trace, or non-detectable. And I read some of the reports from back when I was young, and I don't quite understand how much my level was. But the symptoms that my mom had wrote down for me back then was that I was vomiting, nauseous, diarrhea, headaches. I was a sickly child, and now we know why. And yeah, I remember, even with my asthma, just going to the emergency room and not breathing. And then I've been brought back more than once. And there's been miscarriages in our family, and it's just not good for all of us. But anyhow, we have good researchers at Emory University to find out some of these things, and some of them are memory issues, which I do have a problem with that, but maybe along the lines of Alzheimer's and things. I will read more about that, so I want to get my information straight and make sure I read you the correct information. So I'm going to end this video, and I'm going to start one where I'm going to read out of the PBB Disaster at 50 book, so you can hear some of these stories from our doctors that are involved in things too. So okay, see you soon.